And in addition to the chanting, we have been trying to understand how does this aradhana fit into the structure of yoga. Over the last 7 days, we have tried to have a bird's eye view of the different aspects of yoga. Yoga is not only on the mat, but as Swamiji used to say, we need to live yoga. Living the principles of yoga is very essential. And that is what we need to increasingly inculcate and integrate in our lives. And for this, we need to access many different subtle aspects of life as well as yoga. And we need to, in a systematic and scientific manner, understand the entire range of what our existence means, what life means. Today, science has progressed and physics has made remarkable progresses. The theory of quantum electrodynamics has been around for a long time. The theory of relativity has been around for a long time. But these people now speak of that in addition to matter, there seems to be a principle called consciousness, which is at play. They are working on this. They are formulating means how they can quantify this. And if we step back and look at the Indian system of sciences, we will see that it has been told to us we have two eternal principles. According to yoga, there are two eternal principles, Purusha and Prakriti. They are called as Shiva and Shakti, male, female, yin, yang, sympathetic, parasympathetic. We can give them any names. There are two principles which are eternal, and it is from these two principles that the entire creation came about. Purusha is the cognition principle, the intelligence principle, and Prakriti is the dynamic principle, the action principle. Only when Prakriti comes in contact with Purusha, there is a change, because Prakriti is in a state of dissolution. Connection with Purusha triggers a change and there is evolution. What we see all around us is Prakriti. And in a metaphoric manner, in a figurative manner, she is addressed to as Devi. And this is the end. We are under the sway of Prakriti. What modern science has been studying till now has been looking at matter. But now they are realizing that there is more than matter. There is a different principle known as consciousness, and they are exploring it now. This is the principle, the consciousness principle, which represents Ganesha. And we have looked at how we can approach it from different angles, as through the traditional yogic practices, through the subtler yogic practices, through the chakras, the nadis, the kundalini. There is, however, yet another form of yoga which is considered to be the most appropriate in Kali Yuga, in the times we are in. And that form of yoga is Bhakti Yoga. What is Bhakti Yoga? Is Bhakti just ringing the bells and crying before God, asking Him and making God our chief supply officer. No, that is not bhakti. Yes, we utilize bhakti for that purposes, but that is not bhakti. Bhakti is much more than that. Bhakti is being able to integrate those aspects, subtle aspects of ourselves in a simple yet profound manner. Integrating, channelizing, and harnessing the emotions so that they can be utilized. All of you will agree that most of our problems take place because of raw emotions, untrained emotions, misplaced emotions, misdirected emotions. But we don't know. Nobody has taught us how can we refine our emotions. We always tell, and I'm sure we have told others and others have told us, when we get angry in a fit of rage, we lose our temper. And what do we say? People will tell us, it's okay, it's okay. इतना गुस्सा करने की जरूरत नहीं है, इतना गुस्सा अच्छा नहीं है. Don't get so angry. It's not so good for you. But do we not know? We know very well that such anger is not good for us. But we cannot help it because we don't have that type of control. We have very minimal control. On physical level, if you look at it, the emotional brain and the rational brain, if we can call it very simplistically, they are two different things. Emotions came much, much before the intellect, and that brain is a split second faster than the rational brain. By the time rational brain decides that no, this is inappropriate, I should not behave in this manner, the emotional brain has already fired, executed, and wreaked havoc. How can we bring a balance in these two different principles within us, the rational brain and the emotional brain? In today's times, everything is sold or everything is done on the basis of emotions. Our emotions are being, teased at all places. No matter, we are also agitated all the time. Knowingly or unknowingly, that is happening. How can we manage our emotions? This we can learn through bhakti. Gurudev Swami Satyanand Ji used to quote the Sufi saying, in Sufism, bhakti is known as ishq hakiki. And there is another ishq, the love, which is ishq mazazi. When the emotions are directed towards the world and the sense objects, then it is ishq mazazi. But when the same emotions and that energy, because emotion is energy in motion, that energy, if that is redirected towards that higher principle, then it becomes ishq hakiki. Hakiki, hakikat, the only eternal principle, and that is consciousness. So when we redirect this energy upwards, then there's a transformation which takes place. And the beauty is that through bhakti, we attain all those levels which can be attained through yoga. I'll give you a very simple example. Shiva is considered to be the Adi Yogi, and he activated his Vishuddhi Chakra. Vishuddhi Chakra is that which can digest all the poisons. It can digest all the poisons and convert it to nectar. And that is why he is Neelakantha. He used the yogic principles. Mirabai, on the other hand, she did not know anything about yoga. She was also given a bowl of poison. What happened? She drank it, considering to be prasad, because she was told this is prasad of Krishna. Very, very gladly she drank it. Nothing happened. The story is very well documented. We can say that it was a miracle. Yes, it was. But as students of science and as students of yoga, we need to have some basis for this. What is the basis? Somehow or the other, her Vishuddhi was activated, and activating her Vishuddhi, she was able to transform that poison into nectar. Did she really sit down and practice yoga? No. But she was able to have that effect because all forms of yoga finally culminate into bhakti. Bhakti is the highest form, and bhakti, it is so beautiful that bhakti can be done without the khopdi. In the Gita, Krishna speaks of yogaha karma sukaushalam. Perfection in action is yoga. He speaks of samatvam yoga uchyate. And at the same time, he also says that when he is the supreme consciousness, then patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhaktya prayachati. Whatever my devotee offers me, patram, leaf, pushpam, flower, patram, pushpam, phalam, fruits, toyam. If you don't have anything, just offer water. But when you offer it with complete surrender and complete oneness of mind, then the effect is, and it reaches him. That is just a glimpse of what bhakti can be. We have in the Bhagavad Gita one entire chapter devoted to Bhakti Yoga. Why? Because that is the ultimate. In the yogic parlance, in the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna gave Arjuna that ultimate experience which one can expect in yoga. What is that? Realization and seeing that cosmic form. We have that energy within us, a spark, but we are not able to realize that spark. Having realized that, having seen that spark, then bhakti flowers. Bhakti has come in the 12th chapter, not in the before that, not in the 10th chapter. When we go up ahead in yoga, then it culminates in bhakti. However, in today's times, when our emotions have already been activated, when our mind has gone out of control, Swami Satya Sanghananji, the Peethadhishwari of Rikhya Peeth, she many times used to say that the genie is out of the bottle. Now it's not going to go back in. We have to know how to handle that genie. The genie is the mind. We have activated the mind and we have made a lopsided development of this mind. How can we now control it? Application of bhakti. And through the application, through the scientific application of principles of bhakti, we can manage the mind. We need to refine ourselves and manage it. So how can we refine ourselves? The answer is given in the definition and the very definition of bhakti. In Sanskrit, bhakti is derived from the verb, the root bhaja, and the explanation of bhaja is bhaja sevayam. It is not bhaja pujayam, it is bhaja sevayam. I don't need to explain to anybody what seva means. Seva is service unto others. But what is essential to know is how do we do this service? When we do charity, what are we doing? Are we really doing service? No, we are not. Because somewhere down, we have that approach, that attitude. I, who has so much, I'm giving it to you, who has nothing. Of course, I'm exaggerating it a bit. But that bhav comes in. And that's why you will see most of the charities, there is so much of ego. And that creates problems. The very reason why we set out doing charity is lost. So how can we do charity then? And how can we use charity as a means of purification? When we do charity as a means of service, a mother does service for her child day and night. She doesn't consider herself, or she loses interest in herself, but she cares for her baby. That is the form of service. We have it within us. When we are in love with somebody, then we don't care for ourselves, we care for that person. Can we not have the same bhava for that person who is not mine? Why do we have to limit ourselves to only I, me, mine, my husband, my wife, my daughter, my son, my whatever, whoever are there in that circle of me, mine? Step out. Look at that beggar on the road. Why can't your heart melt for him? Let your heart melt for him. Let you get agitated, brood over that child. Oh my God, he's not having any food. He's not having clothes. What can I do? How can I help him? Direct your anger, direct your fears, direct your worries, direct all your negativities. Direct them in this manner. You are channelizing them. If it helps him or not is not your question. Maybe he is a crook. Fair enough. Doesn't matter. You have channelized your emotions. Those emotions which were troubling you, those emotions which were causing stress, those emotions which were causing heart attack, those emotions which were pulling you down are now being channelized and helping you uplift yourself. That is what is essential. And that is the basis of any spiritual endeavor. That is the basis of any yogic practice also. Because yoga is finally meant for self-effacement. It is meant for bringing out that creativity within. And when we have this problem of emotions, we utilize it in this manner. This is the simplest and this is the most effective form of yoga, Bhakti Yoga. And how does Bhakti Yoga work? How can we progress in it step by step? That is something which we will discuss tomorrow and day after tomorrow. Swami Shivananda Saraswati, he spoke of this. This was spoken by Gurudev Swami Satyananda also, because they said that this is what is the need of the times. And I would like to give some time to it, because these principles are the principles by which we can actually implement them in our life and make a quantifiable difference in our life. I don't know if any of us is able to go into states of pratyahar, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. They are all armchair discussions for us. Speaking of Brahman and all these things, they are all armchair discussions. Given our state of affairs, we are far from that state. So should we get depressed and dejected? No. There is a way out. What is the way out? This is the way out. We should know how we can convert our weakness into strength. Emotions are our weakness. They pull us down. We have to learn how we can channelize those emotions and they turn into our strength. This is the culmination of yoga. This is something which the world needs very, very uh, acute requirement of how to manage one's mind, how to manage one's emotions, and therefore how to manage one's self. So, this is what yoga is, and the Ganesh Aradhana is a means for us to invoke that energy within us. We can call Ganesha as the Laddu Priya Ganesha, the baby cuddly Ganesha, the elephant head Ganesha. Yes, we will like it. We will, we can relate to him. But Ganesha is also that principle which is within us, and we are activating that principle. Why? So that we can better our lives. We make our lives better. So that is the concept. Today evening, we shall continue and speak a little bit more about different aspects of Ganesha and how we can integrate them. These last 3-4 days, I want to devote on discussing practical points by which we can make a difference in our life. So, with this, we can conclude today's discussion. If there is any doubt or anything which we would like to discuss, we can spend some 5 minutes on that.
Swamiji?
Yeah.
Namanarayan. As you spoke about emotions, no? Sir, major emotion now which is working in mind is like we have lots of fear. So with this bhakti, how can we remove these fears? With small fears are there in our mind. So if you can guide with that in the evening, it will be fine, I think.
I will. I will. It's a very nice question you have mentioned. We will speak about it, but I will just give you a hint.
Okay.
Fear is something which pulls you down, but is fear also a way by which it can spur you into action? क्या भय से हम हतबल हो जाते हैं, लेकिन क्या भय हमें कार्य करने पर उद्युक्त कर सकता है? थोड़ा सा इस पर दिन में विचार कीजिएगा और इस पर फिर शाम को हम बात, ठीक है?
जी स्वामी जी.
ठीक है जी. So let us conclude.
Yeah, very powerful session. Namaste. Thank you.
Please sit in any comfortable posture. Hands on your knees in Jnana or Chin Mudra. Eyes and mouth gently closed. The head, neck, shoulders, back, all in a straight line. Awareness on the effect of the mantras and the shift and transformation taking place within us. Maintaining awareness of this process which has been activated within us, we shall chant the mantra Om 3 times altogether. Take in a deep breath. Shanti mantras. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Rubbing your palms together. Place them on the closed eyes. And then, after some time, move the palms away. Hari Om Tat Sat. Namo Narayan. Take care, stay safe, remain positive, and try to spend few moments either with the ajapa, with the mantra, or with the Nadi Shodhan once a day, twice a day, thrice a day, one round, not much. That way, we are able to integrate this experience in our life so that at the end of these 10-11 days, we have something with us to take away. Otherwise, it is taken away from us. It will just be frittered away. So try and, put it in. And also think a little bit about how we can convert our weaknesses into strength with the question which was raised about fears. And we will discuss it in the Namo Narayan.
Namaste.